everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening as we wrap up today's APTA Fight the Cut virtual rally. We appreciate you making phone calls to your members of Congress, sending letters, sending emails, spreading the word, and doing all you can to fight the cut. Our efforts together are so powerful, and your voice is so important in this campaign. This morning, we heard from Valerie Strunk, an educator in Indiana, who talked about how the 9% cut would significantly impact her students and the future of the physical therapy profession. She sent us on our way with a quote, "Decisions are made by those who show up." At 12:30 today, we heard from Kendall Joe Finn in Alabama how the cut would impact his business and his patients and community at large. He gave us the rallying cry from Muhammad Ali, "Get up and fight." And fight we did. It's been a great afternoon of phone calls and emails. We also heard from Erin Embry in South Carolina of the power of sharing your story with legislators and organizing your fellow colleagues to fight the cut. And today I took over APTA's Instagram stories, and I've had a great time interacting with so many of you and sharing our work with you. I'll be signing off for the day after this presentation is done, and I really had a great time. So now we'll hear from APTA's Director of Regulatory Affairs, Kara Gaynor, who will talk about Tuesday's announcement from CMS and what you need to know moving forward. Kara, take it away.
Thanks so much, Laura. And great job on the Instagram takeover. It's been awesome to watch throughout the day.
Thanks. I hope you all found it entertaining as well out there.
So as Laura said, I just want to spend a couple of minutes discussing some of the policies included in the 2021 Medicare Physician Fee Schedule Final Rule effective January 1st, 2021. As Laura mentioned, it did come out Monday evening, and then they actually posted it, or maybe I'm wrong on that, but they posted it in the evening, and then they actually put it in the Federal Register on public display the following day. So we have summarized the fee schedule final rule and in an article, and so that can be found on the APTA homepage. And we will be publishing a summary of the MIPS portion of the final rule on Monday. I'm not going to go into detail this evening on the final rule, but we did discuss the fee schedule final rule policies on the payment and regulatory update webinar that was recorded yesterday, December 2nd. And I will be recording another webinar next week with Justin Elliott regarding the fee schedule final rule. But I do want to mention a couple of things regarding the final rule. And obviously, we're here this evening because CMS is moving forward with the 9% cut to physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech language pathology beginning January 1, 2021. And CMS is implementing this cut not only to the therapies, but to about 36 other provider types, ranging in cuts from -1% to -10%. And they're doing this by way of a decrease in the conversion factor. And adjusting the conversion factor is the tool by which CMS uses to maintain budget neutrality under the fee schedule. And in this instance, they're using the conversion factor by reducing it by about 10% to adjust for the increases in value of the office outpatient E&M codes. Now, I do also want to mention that the PT eval and re-eval codes will be getting a significant bump in payment in 2021. So despite the reduction in the conversion factor, in the case of the eval and re-eval codes, payment will actually increase in 2021. But for many other codes, the physical therapy code set with the lowered conversion factor would ultimately result in reductions under Medicare. But obviously, the actual impact on each provider depends on billing and practice patterns. Now, there are a number of other policies in the final rule that are of importance, and I'll just mention a couple. CMS is moving to permanently allow physical therapists in private practice to furnish and bill communication technology-based services. These are not true telehealth services, but they are communication technology-based services, and those are e-visits, virtual check-in, and the remote assessment of a recorded image or video. CMS is also moving forward with permanently allowing PTAs to provide maintenance therapy in Part B settings. This is something that we've been advocating for quite some time. And CMS did implement this change during the public health emergency, and they will permanently allow it beginning January 1. And there's also some changes related to direct supervision being done through audio and visual technology. Right now, during the PHE, PTAs and private practice can be virtually supervised to satisfy the direct supervision requirement, assuming it satisfies state law and assuming there's some sort of rationale or reason for doing the virtual supervision rather than the in-person direct supervision because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they are actually, CMS is extending that policy through the end of the year in which the public health emergency ends. So those policies are discussed in the summary that I mentioned, and several other policies as well. And like I said, please check out the webinars that we recorded yesterday and we'll be releasing next week. Now, I do want to mention that, regarding the 9% cut, if you look at the final rule and you see how CMS responded to the thousands of comments who expressed serious concerns with the cuts, you'll see that they basically say, we understand you're concerned, but we're required to implement the budget neutrality adjustment to account for changes in the values for the E&M codes. And essentially they explain away and just say, well, increases or decreases in estimated payments are purely a result of our longstanding budget neutrality process. And that was a quote. They also, in responding to the thousands of commenters, basically said, in response to a recommendation that the healthcare community had kind of put forward as a way to offset the impact of these cuts, CMS disagreed that they felt they didn't have the authority to waive budget neutrality, which is what we'd encourage them to do in light of the public health emergency. So they disagreed with that, and they obviously didn't respond to many of our other recommendations in which we put forward in our letters on how they can mitigate the cut. Now, I do want to mention that there were about 30,000 comments out of about 45,000 total comments that came solely from the rehab professions and their patients and their supporters. And while the 30,000 letters didn't stop CMS from moving forward with this policy, I do want to emphasize that it doesn't mean your voices don't matter. The volume of comments truly illustrate the importance of this issue, and it demonstrates this to Congress that this is important and they need to act and fix this policy before it's implemented on January 1. And had we not, come out in such strong opposition to the cuts in the final rule, Congress might have asked, well, why didn't you oppose this in the final rule? We wanted to show Congress that we did absolutely everything we could to tell CMS that they should not move forward with these cuts. And clearly they ignored the thousands of comments that we've submitted both this year, last year, and have reiterated the concerns and the recommendations to mitigate the cut in meetings beginning last summer through this fall. So we're now urging Congress to support the Holding Providers Harmless from Medicare Cuts During COVID-19 Act of 2020. And so if you haven't contacted Congress yet, we do encourage you to do so on our fee schedule advocacy page. We have template letters for that. But, I think I just want to, before I turn it back to Laura, I just want to reiterate, thank you for using your voice and telling CMS that they should not move forward with these cuts. We have told CMS that this is going to cause a detrimental impact to the healthcare community and the patients they serve, without a doubt. And CMS ignored the comments. And they ignored what will be the impact of these cuts if Congress does not act. So please use your voice now. Tell Congress they must act. It's extremely important to the future of the physical therapy profession and the patients they serve and the Medicare program as a whole. So with that, Laura, I will turn it back to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Kara. That was really, really enlightening. And I hope you all got as much out of that as I did. That's really great. So, from our standpoint, our fight isn't over. We have to keep the momentum going and continue to call our members of Congress. We can't stress that enough. We've said that all day. It's so important for you to raise your voice. We have to keep throwing everything we got at them. And, Follow-up is important. If you reach out to your members of Congress today, reach back out to them in the next couple of days. Time is of the essence because this bill is being drafted right now, and we're expecting this legislation to be voted on next week. We don't have time to be silent. It only takes a few minutes to raise your voice, and it's so easy to do so, and we have to join together to make sure these cuts don't go through. So visit the APTA Patient Action Center, send an email, call your member of Congress. We have pre-written template letters for both the email and the call script, and you can add your personal story to both of them. We really want you to let Congress know how this would personally impact you, your patients, your community, and your business. And again, every voice counts. I can't stress that enough, that every voice counts. So that's it for our APTA Fight the Cut virtual rally for tonight. So again, thank you so much for everyone who participated. Continue to participate, continue to be active, and make some noise. So, everybody take care, stay safe, and let's keep going onward. So have a good night, everybody.